Hey there, everybody. I hope you are doing well. Welcome back to the channel. If you just landed here, I'm a Fefe with Touch by Tarot and Beyond. I do mostly political readings, but I also do spiritual readings as well on the new moon and full moon. Quick announcement for members, because a couple of dates, if you are a part of my membership or if you're interested, there's a link in the description box below. As part of my bonus offerings to members, I meet privately once a month on a Zoom call with members. We usually do it the last Friday of every month. But because the last Friday of October is Halloween and the following last Friday in November is Thanksgiving weekend. So gonna push those meetings to I wrote it down, Friday, November 7th, and then it'll be Friday, December 5th. Okay, I'll make announcements about that to follow up, but just wanted to make sure that I put it on this video and make you aware of that. Also, new members, thank you so very much. I appreciate your support. Glad to have you on board. And if you are a new member, there is a playlist on the channel where you can go back and have access to anything that I've posted for members. So there's a lot of good juicy material out there. I welcome you to go check it out. So there's a playlist and it's called Members Only. Go for it. All right, you all. So about this ad that Canada put out with the voice recording of Ronald Reagan on tariffs and the detrimental impact of tariffs, which we know DJT, we'll call him that today. I'm seeing more Delta Foxtrot Tango references come out there, especially among farmers, U.S. farmers who are at that Delta Foxtrot Tango phase with DJT. I mean, they are feeling between the soybeans, the beef, this bailout of Argentina, which we're going to get to in a moment. This is just, but Spirit said this was coming, that step by step, the backlash, especially around tariffs, especially around the economy and the suffering of all swaths of people across the country was coming. So DJT jumped up and said, well, then we're not going to negotiate with Canada anymore. All talks of trade deal negotiations are off the table as of now. You all, here's what I'm getting. Canada is like, okay. Because in the subsequent months, one of the things they've done, the leaders of Canada have done, we know primarily it was Doug Ford in Ontario behind this ad that's running in primarily red districts within the United States. It's all over social media. You can go look it up. Really, really good ad, and very powerful. We're very well done. But Canada's moving on. Canada has done a really good job of extending its reach once it saw what the deal was going to be with the U.S. As long as this regime is in power, they went ahead and started broadening their alliances around the world and globally, keeping in mind that we've got a renegotiation of the trade deal between Canada, the US, and Mexico coming up in 2026. What I'm getting, and I'm going to confirm this with the cards, is Canada's going to be the one to come to the table with a more powerful with more leverage. And DJT is actually losing that battle. And we have the Hermit, 100%, you all. The Hermit having to do Virgo, what is analytical, what needs to be done to keep the from the Canadian perspective, to keep their economy afloat, and the recognition that increasingly, to the extent that we see the Hermit as a sort of isolated image, increasingly DJT is becoming that, like he's in his own world. He's in a different parallel universe somewhere that none of us wants to be in. And so Canada is, when it's time between Mexico and Canada united, that he's going to be in a really tough spot, DJT, to try and have any leverage. Now, that said, and the sun, thank you, Spirit, confirming that. All right. So Canada's not worried about this. The him jumping up and saying, I'm not going to talk to you anymore. That's okay. Canada's going to be all right. Canada's already, showing itself that they are planning and staying one step ahead of what's going to happen, regardless of the tariffs that DJT puts in place, or those that remain in place that are already there. Doesn't matter. Now, what's also interesting about this, you all, is we know that DJT, I think later today, I'm taping this Friday morning, is headed to Asia. Pulled the plug on the whole Budapest thing with Putin and Hungary, because Orban, because it wasn't going to go anywhere, and he wanted to try and save face with that. He knew that. He knew it was done. There's nothing he can do with Putin, and Putin has made that perfectly clear. But so what he's trying to do now is save face around the tariff issue, right? And come to find out, I didn't know this, maybe you did. China is a major billions of dollars in trade with Argentina for beef in particular. So he's trying. Let me just shut my yap and get confirmation from Spirit. Let me put these back and reshuffle. Spirit is DJT. You know who that is. Is DJT trying to manipulate Argentina to get leverage with China, with Jinping, with tariffs? Is he trying to punish and pull Argentina into his corner with this bailout so that he can try and have a stronger negotiating platform with China? Is that his game plan? Because it ain't about trying to save Argentina's economy. Come on, never. Since when? There's always a plan. There's always, something else going on. Spirit, please show me what is DJT's real aim in this Asia trip, and especially regarding Argentina. Is he trying to strong arm or find leverage with China? The Empress, there it is. The Empress. And I got King of Pentacles. I feel like that might be Jinping. And I've got the Nine of Pentacles, the money, the wealth, the tariffs, and strength. I got to take it off the bottom of the deck. If it comes strong like that, I take it. So we've got strength, trying to negotiate from a position of strength around the money that he's putting that money into Argentina. So for, America last instead of America first, right? But he's part of his aim with all of this bailout for Argentina is to put Argentina in his back pocket, especially regarding negotiations with China. Now, Empress, King of Pentacles. Empress also relating to food, fertility, the actual trade, money, right? Two references to money, that Nine of Pentacles and the abundance, and the Empress here. And we have that the King of Pentacles. I think that's Jinping. Spirit, will Argentina backdoor DJT? Because billions of dollars is billions of dollars that they're getting from China. Why would they do that? Why would they, regardless? King of Swords, that's Melee or May, I forget his name, head of Argentina. That's him trying to look on, trying to work a deal, even though it's a woman on that card, trying to work a deal, trying to keep talks alive with China at the same time that he's already, agreed to take this money from the U.S. We have the Magician. Woo! Spirit is coming through loud and clear, you all. This is a lot of, they're going to try and have it both ways. Argentina, while they are gladly, yes, give us the money, give us all you got. It went from 20 billion to 40 billion, right? Yes, give us all you got. But as it relates to China and as it relates to DJT's thinking, he's gonna push China more so out of Argentina's orbit with trade to strong, to try and show a position of strength with Jinping. It ain't happening. Argentina's going to try and have it both ways, is what I'm getting from this reading, you all. And we have the Five of Pentacles. Exactly. They're not going to give up. They're going to take everything they can get. And China's going to come harder. Something tells me China is also, that's part of that King of Swords energy that we saw. Pull the cards down a little bit. That's part of that King of Swords energy that we were seeing, is these continued talks. Because why would Argentina just suddenly say, okay, well, since we're taking this money from the USA, we'll China, you can keep whatever you got. That's not going to happen. All right. So once again, this effort by Besant and DJT and this whole contingent to try and leverage, in Argentina, it's going to fall flat on its face, is what I'm getting from Spirit. Oops. And the Nine of Wands, exactly. It's too much. And it's over-promising and under-delivering. The idea, and the very idea, Spirit. Now we're going to move on, bring it back home to the domestic front. We're seeing that bankruptcies being filed among farmers is the highest it's been since the pandemic, and soaring, right? They are so there's a spirit of disbelief still that he would betray their dear leader, would betray them in this manner. There are questions around the quality of beef that would be brought in, because that's part of what, the sales pitch of DJT is. I promised you lower beef prices. Here's one way that we can get it done. We'll bring it in. We'll bring in this Argentinian beef, and it'll be so much cheaper. But also, at what quality, at what oversight, at what safety, right? So the last part of this is one of the reasons that I am getting you all, and let me confirm with Spirit. We're going to see something happen pretty drastic in a shift, not just by farmers, but by people all across the nation, and especially red states, around November 1st, when those SNAP benefits get taken away. And we're hearing already Six of Wands. Exactly. It's ratcheting up. The High Priestess, I'm not going to ignore that because it's a major arcana. How that's going to play out, the High Priestess, people and even congressional leaders of the red states, these, where farmers especially are being impacted. But when SNAP happens, everybody, all over, farm, city, wherever, urban areas, all over the place, is going to come into play. So that's the High Priestess, is this energy already of, we see this coming. We know, congressional leaders especially, we know that this is coming. And the Six of Wands is remembering, they are very much aware of how many people turned out for the No Kings protests across the board, even in red states, red counties, red areas. Now we're hearing even, counts upward of 10 to 12 million, right? So there's some talks that are already going on among congressional leaders, Republican congressional leaders, about what their response is going to have to be when this happens. Because we're already seeing the ads around the takeoff now. All of a sudden, sales of Hamburger Helper, people are done. Thank you, Spirit. Ten of Wands. It's a breaking point. It's literally a breaking point. And it's not, they cannot continue to spin this as a democratic issue, or the shutdown and what happens with SNAP benefits being because of Democrats. What people are going to see is that they're hungry, or that they're having to go and stretch out their meals with Hamburger Helper. And mind you, not a slam on Hamburger Helper. I was a single mother, and back in the day when I was, just trying to keep the lights on, I made me some Hamburger Helper, tuna helper. I did it all. I know what that life is like, so I'm not slamming that in any way. The Nine of Pentacles, this all comes down to people's ability to survive financially and provide for their families. Pentacles representing not just money, but food. Wow. November 1st, when those benefits get snatched, something is that going to be the breaking point, the when congressional folks are going to have to say, that's it. We can't do this anymore. We have the King of Swords, Somebody starts talking. King of Swords, the Emperor. They're gonna have to go to him and say, whoa, dude, fearless leader. This has really put us in a bind. And the idea, and there we go, in judgment. We gotta redo this. We gotta reconfigure some things. This is not happening. And I wonder if Spirit, I've done readings in the past week or so where we've looked at how long the shutdown would last, and Spirit said by the first half of November. Spirit, will this finally push Congress to negotiate, congressional GOP Congress people to negotiate with the Dems to reopen the government? Will the SNAP benefits after the first? We have the devil. Oh, so much fear around it. They still want to hold their ground. And I got the devil the last time I looked at the GOP and their willingness to negotiate, being like chained to their fearless leader, chained to their position. And death. Now that is an end. Spirit, I'll show that to you. Death. Spirit, are you showing me the end of the shutdown? And also death representing Scorpio. We are in Scorpio season. So again, that points to November. Are you showing me the death card as an end to the shutdown after November 1st by the middle of the month? We have the Three of Swords. So much pain and anxiety. But that feels like it prompts it. Spirit, will the government, will the SNAP benefits and the withholding of them, will that be what pushes them over the edge? The King of Pentacles, I don't know if that's Thune. And the Fool. Ooh, that is breaking away. That is some congressional leaders, or enough of them, breaking away from this hard line taken against the Democrats to keep the government closed. So is this a rebellion of sort? Because the Fool is ruled by Uranus, which is a rebellious energy. Is there a rebellion within GOP ranks to go against the flow as they've been doing it now? And there's the Magician. This SNAP situation is going to really make them snap, GOP leaders snap. And because between the Fool and the Magician, this is the negotiations that really start in earnest. Spirit, will the Dems get what they want, what they've said that they want? The healthcare extensions, and of course, SNAP. And also, I think there's been some talk about making payment for federal workers as a part of that deal as well. Will they get what they want? Will the Dems get what they want? We have the Empress. Yes, that's awesome. Yes. Now, maybe not all of it. You know, these folks are going to try and save face to a certain extent, but the Empress says yes, and again, feeding people, nurturing people, taking care of people, all of that Empress energy. There is, over and above the healthcare issue, over and above the federal workers and concerns around services being provided, this hunger, the actual idea that people are going to go hungry. You're going to see stories in the news at food banks, etc. That is exactly what really tilts the scales. The actual, when those benefits are withheld, when those SNAP benefits are withheld by all sectors of people, and we know that it is majority actually within red districts that receive those benefits. So that's when you're going to start to see things really change. All right. Jack Smith. Jack Smith said, okay, I'm ready. We can do this. If you want to dance, we can dance. We can do this. I'm ready. However, Jim Jordan and company, I'm not going to do this. I don't want to do this. Put it that way. I don't want to do this and I shouldn't have to do this behind closed doors where you can clearly cherry pick, how you want to spin the narrative of what really went down behind closed doors. So if I'm supposed to do this, if you want me to appear, what seems to be the problem? Everybody else has been testifying in public when you bring them before Congress. Why do I have to go behind closed doors, right? So I want to take a look at that. Jack is... They look. I don't know about you, but I'm gonna have popcorn and something good to drink ready when that happens, because Jim Jordan is not is not ready to sit eye to eye with Jack Smith. Jim Jordan or none of the other of that crew, that far right crew. They ain't. All right, Spirit. Will Jack Smith testify publicly before Congress? Will he testify publicly? We have judgment and the hangman. They're going to try and fight it. But with the hangman energy too, though, you all, there's an aspect of surrender, almost having to surrender, because to insist that it be behind closed doors is basically tipping their hand that they're afraid of what Jack Smith will testify to. They're afraid of him. And they know their objective is to basically intimidate him and follow through on, the regime's orders to go after him. But they don't want what he comes with as a result of that, Jack Smith, what he comes with, the second part of that report that he did that never got released, what he comes with and could be perhaps as a result of this testimony. Yeah, they do not want that at all. We have the Ace of Pentacles, Spirit giving me my confirmation. Thank you, Spirit. So I'm thinking that, Spirit, is that ace indicating that we will see him testify publicly? Jack Smith will testify publicly. Will he? There's the World. Ooh, I like that, because there's a completion, as many of you know if you read tarot, that when the World comes, there's a pinnacle of a lesson learned. There's a ultimate done, put a period after the sentence. So this around Jack Smith says this brings his investigations, especially around, I think the volume 2, the report that was not released was around the classified documents case. This brings it to a sort of completion, and he sees it that way, that while his case has never made it to trial, that this World would be the completion, like put the cap on the pen after his work, all the work that he did, his investigations. And the World also being, thank you, Spirit, the World also being the world watching, the world having a desire to hear directly from Jack Smith. Because we know that's global, just as the No Kings, protests were global, just as the global community is invested in what happens here politically. And there's the Emperor. So he's opening, hollering, and screaming, DJT, don't let it happen, don't let it happen, don't let it happen. And Temperance, trying to negotiate a way out of it. Because it changes the dynamic. It changes the, even those who have been duped into believing that somehow Jack Smith was not on the level and that he was prejudicial in his investigations. This Temperance card says there's alchemy there. Opinions begin to shift. Beliefs begin to shift. And him going public, judgment. Well, look at all this. I only have 6 cards in front of me, you all. And of those 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 are major arcana. This is huge. This is huge. I think Jack Smith, he can force their hand. There's almost no it will look even worse for them to persist in saying it has to be behind closed doors. And there's the Page of Swords. They're trying their best to figure out a way to spin it. Why it's better to do it that way. But no, it makes them look so much worse. And the Two of Wands, moving forward. They're trying to figure out a path forward. Because here's the deal. The goal in getting Jack Smith to testify was to ultimately, bring press charges against him, right? They want to go whole hog on him. They're not going to be able to go that far. So they're thinking long term, moving forward, what happens as a result of this testimony? And how do we get out in front of that? The Four of Wands, exactly. There's a celebration that happens among the people. Is this the feeling among the people when they see and hear from Jack Smith directly, his testimony? There's a Nine of Wands. Push, push, push. It re-energizes people. Push against this regime. The push that people need in the legal community, and the Nine of Pentacles, 2 nines back to back, again coming toward completion. Like there was such a letdown, you all, as we all know, when those trials went kaput. Those two powerful investigations and trials that Jack Smith had everything lined up, and then boom, there it went, right? So there's a completion. Those nines are indicating this is about wrapping up the work that he did. And while it won't be wrapped up necessarily in a trial in a court of law, the way that it was designed to happen, the way that it would have happened if Jack Smith had been able to move forward, it's going to happen in a different way. The information being released, Jack Smith being able to finally speak for himself. We saw recently he had that powerful interview with Andy Weissman. I don't know why I'm holding this deck backwards. And the Queen of Cups. Who's that, Spirit? Who's the Queen of Cups showing up as? The Page of Wands. Queen of Cups, Page of Wands. And the Tower. Somebody is telling them to back off. Somebody is telling Jim Jordan and company to back off, or they will, to back off. And that's not to say that because it's they just showed me a vice, because they've already been given the directive, and they've already announced it. Jim Jordan's foaming at the mouth that I'm gonna go out here and get Jack Smith and try to embarrass him. But the Tower, come on. And again, a card of completion with that Pluto energy, a card of like this is going to bring the people so much of what people were anticipating if those two Jack Smith cases had gone to trial. It's almost like without a verdict per se, at least the information comes to light. And I do think that one way or another, that information is going to be made public. That report is going to be made public. And they have bitten off way more than they can chew with Jack Smith, you all. All right. Last thing I want to look at today, redistricting. We got, what is it now? Virginia that said, okay, if this is what we're going to do, this is what we're going to do. So Virginia is on board with redistricting. I'm looking at Maryland. Governor Westmore of Maryland had been a little reluctant to get on board with that. When everybody first started talking about, after Texas did its thing and Gavin Newsom got right on it, we will look at Prop 50 and the two governors' races in New Jersey and Virginia next week as we get closer to the actual election. So I got you. I've been hearing you. And we will be looking at that next week. We'll go to Spirit on that. Prop 50, it's just, I just feel like that's a done deal. But we will also look at those two governors' races. But the thing is, Westmore and other governors, even Pritzker, I want to look at him because we heard some talk about, okay, if this happens, it won't just be California. There will be other Democratic states who get on board. New York, Governor Hochul said she was down for that. But even if New York does it, because of something about how they do things procedurally, it wouldn't take effect until 2028. It wouldn't, the new maps wouldn't take effect until 2028. That's, too late to do something for the midterms. But Spirit, two questions. Will we see a new map in Virginia? And will we see a new map in Maryland? Will we see maps passed in Virginia and Maryland to help the Democrats? Ten of Wands, a lot of work, a lot of money. Eight of Pentacles, though, I'm going to take that. Eight of Pentacles and the Ten of Wands. It's a really big uphill climb, and the Eight of Pentacles is a good card in reference to that question, you all, because that says work being done to make it happen. Spirit, will we see maps in Virginia? New maps, will they get passed? Will we have new maps in Virginia? We have the Emperor. I like it. I think Virginia's on board, or will be on board. It means it when they said it. All right. Westmore in Maryland. Will Westmore get it going? We have the Six of Cups. Because, he has been a proponent, Westmore has been a proponent of, while he has also been very supportive of Gavin Newsom and the efforts for Prop 50, he's also been very kind of in that middle ground of, fair maps, being a real proponent for fair maps. So he's been a little hesitant to jump on board with that. But the Six of Cups feels like he has to go back and review that decision. And the Ten of Cups, listening to the will of the people. I think, Spirit, Ten of Cups, listening to the will of the people and feeling that momentum, Cups, to do so. Because I think there have been some polls and Maryland voters are saying, we're okay with it. If that's what you choose to do, we'll vote for it. We'll get a ballot going. We'll get a ballot initiative going. And the Wheel of Fortune, you all. So things have changed. In Westmore's mind, things have changed. I think we're going to see Maryland get on board. Now, Pritzker, who certainly has his hands full in Illinois, but Pritzker had been one of the people right on, subsequent to Gavin Newsom, many of you know. He came out and said, all right, let's go. Will Illinois introduce maps? Three of Pentacles. Not a bad card. There's work. There's collaborative work that has to be done to get that moving. Will they do it? And the Four Swords. It's financial, you all. Illinois is having some issues with its budget. We know that. We know that Pritzker's had some, really been trying to work around that. Then we know that a lot of their funding, they're being punished because of them being targeted. Not just Chicago, but of course the state in general. And the Six of Pentacles. It's the financial aspects, because we know, even in California, I may be wrong, you all correct me if I am. I think I read or heard something around 100 million maybe for the Prop 50 campaign. All of these things, these efforts cost money. So that's the issue in Illinois. Can they mount a sufficient campaign to get it going? And the Five of Wands confirmed. Yeah, the conflict around financially, can they mount a sufficient campaign to get it going? So Illinois is a bigger question mark. Not out of desire, or even the will of the people, but the actual mechanics of getting that measure, through the state legislature, and getting it on the ballot, as certainly in time for 2026. And the Eight of Cups, yeah, fingers crossed around Illinois, you all. But Maryland's looking like it might do some things. Virginia's looking like it might do some things. New York may do some things, even if it means it won't take effect until 2028, and maybe there are some others who will come on board as well. But the call increasingly, and this goes back to the SNAP issue as well, has been stop for these Democratic states, stop waiting until you see which red states are implementing these changes, right? And getting their maps passed. We know there have been some efforts where it's been the courts have said, nah, you can't do that. I think Missouri got stopped in its tracks, etc. But there's this sense of you Democratic states waiting, wait and see, wait and see, wait and see. And increasingly it's like, no, you got it. Let's just do it. Like, let's just do it. They've already shown their hand. They've already said, what they're willing to do. So rather than waiting to see and losing time to wait to see whether they're successful, we got to go ahead and make it move. So I think we're going to see more momentum around that. All right, you all. I think I covered everything on my little list today. I will see you on Sunday. Stay safe out there. And remember, chin up always. This whole campaign of fear and trauma, but there's also, as we do that, chin up and our shoulders back and remembering who you are and what you stand for and your values. And even if, in the time being, whether you can afford steak and lobster or it's got to be a tuna fish sandwich, whatever that is, it has nothing to do with your values, with your with how you are loved by the divine. God is however you relate, but how you are loved. You are still a human being worthy of love. And that's the thing that connects us all, certainly here in our heart. All right? All right. I appreciate you. Don't forget to check out the membership and pay attention to those dates. I will remind you, members, and I'll talk to you real soon. Have a good weekend. Bye.